Good day everyone, my name is Grisel Maybior Shalda and right now I will be discussing the gender-exclusive speech differences. Women and men, adults and children speaks differently from each other. Well, according to Holmes 2013, women are more linguistically polite than men and that men emphasizes different speech functions. Social linguists indicated that there are speech varieties used by men and women in some societies. Now, in these societies, a woman or a man cannot speak the language of the other gender. For that reason, the varieties are considered as gender exclusive speech. Now, here are the evidences in gender speech differences, which are shown through pronunciation or word shape. The second one, word shapes because of the different affixes. Third is the vocabulary items. And the fourth one is the pronoun system. Now let us move on to the gender preferential speech features. In many societies, different genders shows a preference for using certain linguistic features more than others. One of the claims is that women use more socially accepted variants of language than men. This means that women generally choose and use forms which are much closer to the standard ones more frequently than men. Now, Domenic 2002, in his study on form feedback and content feedback in English composition writing, he found out that males and females differ significantly in responding to feedback made by the author in English composition writing. Now, differences between two sexes are also influenced by many factors. Two of these factors are people's social class and culture. In various cultures, each has his or own identity and role, which dictate that males should behave and act in accordance to the practice of each society in order to maintain the status of masculinity for males and the status of femininity for females. These practices are evident in the labeling of words, actions, or behaviors, such as masculine or feminine. It is in the idea that the role of man as head of the family is conceptualized and that influences his own language, which eventually leads to labeling male language as a strong language, while women's language, on the other hand, is labeled as a weak language because of this or because of the woman's subordinate role in the society. In general, gender and social class differences are the common factors that reveal how males and females differ in pronunciation of words. Now, in a study were conducted by, or a study which named phonological differences of F and V among young and Filipino male and female students. Here, it explains that the difference of pronunciation of letter F and V are depending on the social class. Now, most commonly, Filipino speakers of English are um, they are supposed to pronounce F or they are supposed to substitute F with P and V with B. So, in pronouncing a foreign sound, people tend to substitute sound in their native language, which is nearest to it. And there have been studies which try to explain and prove that these substitutions occur due to non-existence of F and V in the Filipino language. Now, here are the various studies or the studies which have been carried out to explain why those differences occur. However, in the social status, according to Holmes 1992, women are more status conscious than men. Therefore, they use the standard form more. If it was also speculated that women lack the social status because they do not have a social identity which is usually obtained through work. Since language defines class, the use of standard variety becomes more important to them. And I don't think it is not true that women who are not in working environment and having no power in their community are more likely to claim higher social status by the use of the standard forms. It is their education and regional dialects that determine their ways of communicating with others. in their community, not because they try to show that they are in a higher social class. If only women are given the opportunity to improve their social status and they are not sexually discriminated, they may not force themselves to employ such language use. But because of the categorization of status between men and women, they both try to maintain their roles as males and females according to the dictates of their society. Males try to show their masculinity by using non standard speech and by showing their physical strength, which was also come out as a sign of masculine supremacy. While, on the other hand, women try to show their femininity by conforming to a more standard speech. Well, in fact, women's conformity to the use of standard speech is a form of compensation for their subordinate status in the society. Now let's move on to the second one. We have the woman as the guardian of the society's values. In many societies, women are expected to be better behaved than men. Now, little boys, for example, are given more um, leeway than girls, and girls' misbehaviors are more often corrected. Now, similarly, rule breaking by women is frowned upon because women are we are supposed to be the models of correct behaviors in the community. Now, for example, in a relationship in the family members, the language used between family members seems to be more relaxed and informal. In this case, we cannot expect the mother or the father and their children to use standard language to communicate. Instead, the mother will try to speak as similarly to the way her children speak and or the children speak the language as possible. This is the situation where we have to accept the more vernacular forms. Moving on to our third one, we have the subordinate groups must be polite. Women have a subordinate position in the society, and the subordinate group is expected to be polite so as not to offend the group in power. Well, as we all know, back then in our history, Filipino women are very much restricted to what they can do or what they should do. And until now, women are on the subordinate position where there is a culture or the norm that we are under men. But here in our the one of the evidences that subordinate groups must be polite. So it is believed that women are on the low position or the subordinate group, and they should be act into a formal way, into a correct way. So that's it. And the other evidences are to be explained by Miss Angeline Agar. As an example, since the Spanish colonial period, the woman has been the family treasurer, which, at least to some degree, gave her the power of the purse. But nevertheless, the Spanish also established a tradition of subordinating women, which is manifested in women's generally submissive attitudes, women's or in a double standard of sexual conduct. The woman's role as family treasurer, along with a woman's maintenance of a general submissive demeanor, has changed, but the double standard of sexual morality is being challenged. That will be all for now, and the rest of the topic will be discussed by Miss Angeline Agar.
In vernacular forms, express machismo, men tend to use or to be stronger when it comes to their language. They are more vulgar compared to women. For instance, our president Rodrigo Duterte, his performance of masculinity in language described by one commentator as pushing the boundaries of street masculinity, talking about the 1989 Davao hostage crisis to a crowd of supporters, Duterte's fake joke, which caused skepticism by the people, and Duterte further defended his statement in an interview explaining that men speak that way. All the curses he uttered, even his the president, which is his vernacular form that carry much connotations of masculinity and toughness. How are women categorized? Many studies of gender interactions have discussed differences in masculine and feminine conversational styles. Collaborative talk has been regarded as a feminine conversational style. The influence of the interviewer and the context. Women are tend to be more cooperative conversationalists than men. Men perceive the speech of others and their conversational needs. In every Filipino family, most commonly the mother is usually tend to be more responsive. In the Philippine context, women are usually more expressive compared to men. They tend to be more talkative and active in the conversation. For instance, in a family gathering, usually women are the one who have many things to say, while men are just listening to their stories or they just always agree to what the women say. They barely give comments or reactions. Age-graded features of speech. Changes in speech are very evident to male and female as they grow up. In female, their pronunciation and their use of grammar. In male, the different vocabulary and also the changes are difference in voice pitch or the pitch range, which is specifically very evident to males. For instance, to the one of the most famous singer here in the Philippines, which is Darren Espanto, his voice from his childhood is quite different from his voice now that he is. Slang is another area of vocabulary which reflects a person's age. In the Philippines, there is a wide range of gap between the youth and the older people when it comes to language used. For instance, the use of slang language. Slang language keep involving the youngster conversation. Youth are very fond of saying slang words in a conversation such as awit, ulay, satru, and etc. Those are words I can usually hear within the young groups of people and can barely hear from all this. In age and social dialect data, when a language change is spreading through a community, there will be a regular increase or decrease in the use of the linguistic form over time. During childhood and adolescence, the vernacular form is high. During middle age, it will reduce and it will increase again during old stage. In the Philippines, it is very evident that younger people are using standard language less compared to the adults or to the older people. For instance, children's keeping chants or terms used in childhood games, this usage seems to have stopped. However, as they have grown older and abandoned in groups language. Age grading and language change. In Philippine culture, there is a high regard for social hierarchy based on age. When you meet someone for the first time, and it is not too obvious through physical appearance if he or she is older than you, it is already expected that age will be asked. Finding out someone's age will determine how you will address and speak to the other person. It is generally not acceptable to call someone just by their first name if they are older than you by 2 years or more. Filipinos would add words like po and opo before or after saying something to show respect to anyone older than you. Like, salamat po, sige po, magandang umaga po,